People are selling Apple?
People are selling Apple, and I want to be careful about how we set that. It's still the #1 held stock at our firm. So people have been selling Apple, as you said, 7 months in a row. I think it's been the most surprising thing we've seen this year in this, because it does measure how people actually trade. So what it tells me is every time there's any kind of bad news on the tariff front, I think our clients synthetically play that through Apple. We were at a conference this week. We had 1,200 clients, and that was a theme that we were talking to them about. They're like, okay, a lot of their suppliers could be affected. I'm long Apple, but when I get nervous, I want to cut back on my holdings of Apple a little bit. The other theme that's really been surprising is that they've been buyers of fixed income, but the duration has been 6 months or less, telling me there continues to be this demand for stocks. Maybe not at this level. It still makes them a little bit nervous.
Cash.
They're parking cash, waiting to move in when stocks sell off a bit.
Keith, Apple, it's up 63% year to date. It's the best performing component of the Dow. I mean, does it make sense to be seeing some profit taking or some selling in this name right now?
Yeah, of course it does. I mean, when you take a look at when they did the 7-for-1 split a few years ago, which would have put them on a trajectory to make it a $1,000 stock before they did that. And people say, well, they'll never get back there. It's gotten back there and then some in spades. And I think what JJ's also alerting us to, or illuminating for us as well, is that a lot of the retail investors, I know several people who've held Apple for 15 or 20 years. And I would imagine, I dare say, that's a lot of your clients that are in there, myself included, by the way, JJ.
Glad to hear that.
Yes,
Thanks.
you're welcome. You're welcome anytime. So when you have that kind of cost basis, and if you're a little bit unsure about the macro environment, especially with a company like Apple that is impacted by what goes on in China, then why not take some money off the table and start playing with house money, start playing with TD's money effectively at that point in time?
Well, it's interesting, JJ, what they're buying as well. And we need an acronym for everything. What are we going to call it? MAD? M-A-A-D? You got Microsoft.
I think that's taken.
You got, it might be taken. We've got him, Jim Cramer might have that. You got, look at that, Amazon, Disney, Microsoft, and AT&T. With the exception of AT&T, these are names, particularly Microsoft and Amazon, that have gotten bought for so long. Do you worry at all, JJ, that everybody's buying the same stuff?
Well, I don't necessarily. Disney's been a buy 5 months in a row, as Apple's been a sale 7 months in a row. I think it's also a little bit, talking about Disney and AT&T particularly, I think it might be a comment on the streaming wars that are sort of coming up also in terms of that being. Netflix, by the way, was a net sell. The other thing about AT&T, let's not forget, people are still searching for return, and so they're also perhaps, rather than just parking their money in the fixed income, saying, why don't I buy a blue chip stock, try and get a nice yield, and at the same time have a nice chance for a capital gain, which AT&T has actually given them. Microsoft, had a little bit of a sell-off. We saw clients come right back in during last month, if you remember that. So again, a lot of those factors play into this.
Quickly, JJ, what Millennials bought really got my attention, because all of these names are basically ingestible substances, and some of them that have been under incredible scrutiny given the whole vaping crisis.
So they continue to like the cannabis-related stocks. One thing I would say on that, don't forget, this could be a long-term play. And as we go state by state, if you have a long-term time horizon, that might not be a bad thing to think about. Altria was a little bit surprising to me, especially coming from our millennial clients overall. I don't know what to make of that. And
Juul.
Yeah.
Probably the jewel. I think that was your point, was the juuling.
Yeah.
The vaping.
Right, exactly. And Starbucks makes a lot of sense also. But again, it is kind of interesting to see people adjust their cash, even although I may say I'm going to be green and all that, adjusting the client places where they can make money.